How many companies work in the broader payment space? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. Is there room for them all? Square recently filed to go public. It had more revenue and a lower rate of loss than I had expected. In fact, the company's health was something of a surprise. I do get some things wrong. But the company's success raises a very important question. How many companies can actually make it in payments? Now, payments is a broad category. There's payments, POS, and so forth. But there's also a lot of players. Braintree, PayPal, Square, First Data, Stripe, Swipely, and a host of others are currently working to run the space. Now, one thing is certainly true. Payments, broadly, is a very, very capital-intensive business. Square, for example, just one more time with Square, they raised nearly $600 million to get over that IPO line. And when a competitive sector is awash in cash and it matures, you often see consolidation. We've already seen some of that when PayPal bought Braintree for a fat $800 million. What I want to know is, are we going to see more capital infusions or a wave of new combinations? The improving IPO climate could convince some founders to not sell. But at the same time, major tech companies have tectonic amounts of bored cash, and bored cash tends to splash around. So merger mania or the Hunger Games? To explain the current temperature in the broader payment space, we have Lisa Falzone right here in the studio.
Lisa Falzone is CEO and co-founder of Revel Systems, a company that provides point-of-sale solutions using iPads. A Stanford graduate, Falzone has been on every under 30 list you can name. She's said to be a trailblazer, leading her company since the beginning in a crowded, arguably antiquated POS payment space.
Lisa, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the odd red lighting we have. It's like a version of hell, but inside our very own studio. It's been fun to watch the IPO market in the last couple of months. We had the PayPal IPO, First Data went public, and Square filed. In my view, in rapid succession. So I'm curious, do you think the IPO cadence we're seeing in the broader payments space is quick? Is it approximately correct? Or is it where you thought it was going to be? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much where I thought it was going to be. I think there's a sentiment in the market that it's a high right now. However, I think that there's potentially going to be maybe a little bit of a setback in the next 3 or 4 months, but then long term, it's going to keep growing.
Is that a macro setback for the whole market, or is that a setback specifically in the fintech payment space?
I think it's macro for the whole tech market.
Okay, so the segment or sector is where it was healthy-wise, but the overall markets are slowing down. So do you think people like Square will then wait to pull the trigger, or are they going to just go ahead and go anyways?
I think they're going to go now because they think that the market is at its highest right now.
Okay. Now, on that point, do you think we'll see a lot of M&A activity inside of payments and fintech, or IPOs will still be the name of the game for the next, say, 12, 18 months?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of M&A activity for the smaller companies, but these companies that have multi-billion-dollar valuation, I mean, they have no choice but to go IPO.
So I'm curious, define smaller valuation. Is that like 50 to 100, or is that more the up to $500 million range? How big can you be right now in the larger fintech space and be purchased, do you think?
I think sub 500 million in valuation.
And why do you pick that dividing line?
I pick it just because you look at the acquirers and who and what they're willing to pay in the space. And I think that it's hard to get a company that will pay a multi-billion-dollar valuation in the payment space.
So before we got on, we were talking about the diversity of companies inside of fintech, what counts as payments and so forth. Do you think we're going to see a lot of hardcore actual payments companies stay independent, or do you think we'll see more full-stack companies working on both POS and payments and so forth?
So I think that there's definitely a merging in the space between payments and POS. You see a lot of payment companies buying POS companies.
And why is that?
Why is that? Because payment companies, there's a little bit of a race to the bottom in payments. And so they're trying to create value for the merchant. And so POS really creates a lot of value for the merchant.
So why don't POS companies buy payments companies? Why do payments companies buy POS companies?
I actually think it's better if POS companies buy payment. But it's relatively easy for a POS company to create a payment, to be an ISO or to be an acquirer. Whereas it's a little bit harder for a payment company to become a POS company internally.
So you feel like your company's better positioned than just a pure payments company because you don't actually do hardcore payments, you do software work for POS systems.
Exactly.
Okay.
Our focus is on business intelligence, analytics. We're kind of like a mini SAP for your business.
Can I guess that you have better margins then?
You can guess that.
Don't answer that. All right, so on the topic of companies in your broader space, they spend a lot of money. I mean, Square raised, just as an example, not to pick on them, nearly $600 million in private markets, and you raised $100 million late last year. Why is this space so capital intensive?
I mean, I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, you look at POS, we've estimated it to be $30 billion or more in,
Is that US
in
or
revenue, global for
Okay.
in revenue. So for the space. So I mean, it's huge opportunity, and I think investors see that, and they just see that this is an industry that's ripe for disruption. So I think that's why you have so much capital going into the space.
So on the $30 billion number, which is much higher than I expected, what percentage of that global POS revenue do you think will be managed and run by companies less than 10 years old in a few years? What I'm asking is, your new team of companies, how much of that spend will you control?
I think 90% is going to be completely disrupted. I mean, if you look at legacy point of sale, it's very archaic technology. They still use back office servers, nothing's hosted in the cloud, and so you're looking at a huge disruption for the point of sale industry.
Are they open to changing their systems, or are they more conservative about how they run their businesses? Because I feel like if you're doing on-prem stuff and you say do the cloud, there's always some pushback from large companies that want to run their own systems internally.
So there's ways around that. I mean, some people really don't want a local-based server anymore. It's very difficult to maintain. It's really hard IT-wise. And so when you look at a cloud-based system, and really it's a hybrid.
Sure.
With the tablet-based system and the way we design our software, it's a hybrid. So
Right.
it's the speed of a local-based system and the benefits of a web-based system.
Good soundbite. Well done.
So when you look at that, and you look at how that technology is revolutionizing the space, they really don't want the back office servers anymore.
Okay, now on the topic of maturity and companies moving around, I have to ask before I let you go, in 1 to 3 years, are you still private or are you public?
We'll probably be public.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Thanks so much.
Bullish airs every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and you can find it here on TechCrunch.com.